Flex Lewis here, straight out of the Lair. Alright guys, we're back. Episode 7, straight out the Lair. We are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Austin Ekeler. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, what we love about you here at the gym is, man, you just a madman. You come in straight after the game. You're doing one-handed pull-ups. You're doing deadlifts.
Yeah.
I look over and I think to myself, how does this guy have so much energy? I mean,
Man,
bro.
I mean, I just want to say I appreciate you for allowing me to be at this gym. You have an amazing atmosphere. If you haven't checked out the gym, absolutely come check it out here in Vegas, the Dragon's Lair, because when you talk about community and you talk about energy in a gym, like that's what brings you back, right? And so I've been here for like a year and a half now, and it's still my favorite gym I've been a part of as far as like a rec gym where I come in and go in as I please. It's like, this is the energy because I have people where I see the same people over and over again. We have a conversation. We get to know each other. Every once in a while, we get some fans in here too, take some pictures. I always love that. So it's been great. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, no problem. Well, listen, as I said, we love having you here. I think everybody loves you here, not only as the athlete that you are every weekend when you're playing, but also as the personality. You know, I've seen you from afar just walking in, saying hi to every one of my staff members, to the people who you know. And some of these people don't know Austin Ekeler. Mm-hmm. And when they find out that's you, number 30, right. They're like, holy shit, that's him. Right. He's like the nicest guy in the world. And then obviously on the field, you're a different kind of animal.
Yeah, run through your face, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's the whole appeal, right?
Yeah.
But before we go too far ahead, I think it's a common theme on this podcast where we have a lot of our guests that have come in from very humble beginnings. And true as that is, same thing for you. We're Eaton, Colorado, right?
Eaton, Colorado, man. A little tiny little one-stoplight farm town out in Colorado, out in the plains. My mom moved us there from Colorado Springs just to get away from a situation where she felt like we were safer there. And so that's where we ended up, and that's where it all began. I don't know how far you want to go back.
Let's go. What we love about this podcast in particular is where you get your mindset. So yes, we and for the viewers who don't know who you are on the field, I want them to take something from each and every interview that we do here. And I know that you have so much to give, mate. You are like, again, I feel like you're like the American dream as well. So please tell us from the beginning.
Yeah, man. My mindset definitely started in my upbringing, which I think it does for a lot of us because that's who we see, that's the people we're around. And I really got it from my mom's ex-husband. This guy was relentless. I hated this guy. Like, that's what the relationship was. But looking back as an older, mature person, I see, like, I learned a lot from seeing him, even though I just despised this man and wanted nothing to do with him. And he didn't treat me very well. I was a step kid. It was a typical, like, hey, treat him like a stepchild type of thing, It's just how it was. He was old school. He had his own business. He had his own fencing business. Like, I'm talking like miles of fencing. Oof. Like, hey, we get a railroad job and it'd be 26 miles of barbed wire fence.
Wow. And you did that?
Just straight up in the summers, guess what we were doing?
Oh, yeah.
We're building the fence, man.
How old were you then?
That was, forever. Since I was 4 years old.
Wow.
That's what we were doing in the summers, building barbed wire fence. And that manual labor, it'll teach you something about hard work. And with this guy, there was no excuses. There was nothing, no complaining. Get to work. We're getting this job done. High level, quality. We're moving. And it wasn't always work, but that was a main part of my life that was growing up that really taught me about how to work hard. And then my getaway from that was sports. Like, I was like, thank God we finally get back to the regular schooling season. And it's like finally I get to get into all my sports and get away from that. But that mindset that I had from building stuff and not being able to complain and having to move at a good pace, or you get your ass ripped, or even worse, transferred into my athletic career and into my studies and into everything else, because I was like, I know I want to get out of this situation that I am now. And the day I graduated high school, I left. Like I was out. Like I'm gone. I'm out of this. I don't want anything to do with any of y'all. That was my mindset. I was like, okay, I finally get to go, be on my own. And that same mindset has stayed with me ever since. Like it's a relentless pursuit to better myself, to get out of a situation. And it's not like I'm in a bad situation or in that situation, but like now, but it still stays with me, right?
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you always big in sports growing up?
So sports was, I would say I was big in sports as far as just playing them, but like my family, like we grew up in the ranch life. Like I was a cowboy. Like I was, riding a few bulls here and there, riding horses, like things like that. And so it wasn't like my family like watched that. Like we had a cousin that coached for Nebraska at the time, so we watched like, the Cornhuskers play.
Yeah.
But that was about it. And so
We need some pictures of the cowboy days.
yeah, no, we don't have it. I have a couple with me in the cowboy hat sitting on
That's
some like
good
rope,
enough.
on some roping dummies.
Yeah, we'll take those.
If my mom can find them. But no, like we didn't watch sports. Like I just played them. We just played them, you know. And even to this day, like I didn't even start watching the NFL, American football, until my junior year of college.
That blows
wow.
my mind. When you told me that, I was like, damn.
Yeah, because even just we'll continue on to the story. Like for me, going into college, I was just super hyper focused on my degree because I'm going to a small school. Like, sure, I don't know how the football is going to work out, but I do know that I can apply myself to my education. Like it was one of those things where looking back, I was focused on the things that I can control, right? And it's not like I was thinking about that, like, oh, I can't control this, so I'm not going to focus on that. But that's just the way my mind works. And so now it's one of those things where I try to give back to people. I'm like, hey, like focus on what you control, because that's really all you can do, And if you focus on that, building value in yourself, then your floor gets higher and higher, right? But before we get into that, so going into college, I was just hyper focused on my education. I knew I wanted to have my own business because that's what I was around. I was around my mom's ex-husband. He had his own business. I was like, okay, well, this guy can have his own business. He didn't even go to college or anything like that. I can definitely have something going. And I was just focused on my education. Had an internship with the oil and gas company. I was going into energy management. I was offered a position and had the knock on the door. All this time I'm playing football too. I use football as a gateway to get my education paid for. But we're at D2 is a smaller school, right? So we don't have full rides. So I had all these grants because my mom, we didn't make a lot of money, but so I had all these things that helped me pay. But I used that for the opportunity to create another one for my education. And then my coach came to me one day after my junior year. I was definitely, getting some accolades in college. He's like, man, you remind me of a guy that, made it from another small school. You might have an opportunity to play in the NFL. And that's when it kind of clicked for me, like, oh, this might be another opportunity. And really started to take on that.
I read that there's records that have still stood from your high school days. So I think you're kind of, downplaying the fact how good you were.
Well,
it's okay, Austin.
In my school, yes. In my school, I was like the guy as far as when it came to sports. But it wasn't. It was mainly for football, and like I played basketball and track. For football, that was my favorite sport. That was what I was best at, for sure. I scored like 5-6 touchdowns a game just running through people. And the thing is, I never had a scholarship to any D1s.
Right.
Like no one came to me.
Yeah.
No one.
Not even
the D1. There's like 130 D1 colleges, and my senior year, I ran for like 10 yards a carry, which is a first down. For those of you that know American football, like it was very good. If every time I touch the ball, I get 10 yards, very good. Yeah. And then I had 43 touchdowns.
Wow.
43 touchdowns, and I got not one D1 AA, not one D1 offer. And so
just think you were overlooked, or nobody kind of made the squeaky wheel?
Here's the thing. If you're at a small school, what do you expect? How are you going to get an opportunity? You better dominate. Yeah. I dominated.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely dominated. How do you not see that?
Yeah.
I was like number 22 in the country out of every player. It's like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
But that didn't bother me. It was like, okay, I guess I'm a Division II player. But my mindset stayed with me. That's another thing they couldn't measure too, because they might see, he might not have that much competition. He's at a small school, which it was smaller.
Right.
But you can't measure what I have in my head, and my head was relentless, like that relentless pursuit to better myself, and that in turn is, I think, even more valuable than even skill is too, right? Because that's going to allow me to grow. That's going to allow me to overcome. That's going to allow me to be a leader in your program. And there's so much more that comes with that than you can get from even skill. And so There's no way to measure that. And so I think that's a big part of my value that is now known because I've had some exposure, but wasn't back then.
So you got that knock. It sparked something. Then what did you do with that, though? Like from there, you obviously
from
took
college?
it seriously. You
or
got
from high school?
From your coach saying that to you, right?
Yeah, okay.
He said that to you. It planted a seed.
Yeah.
You saw an opportunity.
And
how did you seize it?
And so at that moment, when my coach comes to me like, hey, man, you might be able to play, in the league, at the highest level. I was like, okay, that sounds great, but let me finish college first. And I had actually, before my senior year, before my last year in school, I had an agent hit me up, still my agent that I have today.
Okay.
He's the only agent that ever hit me up too. He reached out to me. He's like, hey man, would love to talk to you, about representing you and so now that became real to me. I was like, okay, actually maybe there is some grip here. And I told him, I was like, look, I don't want to even think about that right now. Like, let me finish what I have going here. Let me get this done and I'll talk to you after the season. Made it through the season, another dominating season, records, all of that stuff. And I went back to him. But at the moment, I didn't really actually realize like how important that was for me just to focus on the moment. But now looking back, like I'm so glad that I didn't get so caught up in like, the NFL, all this stuff. Like I just focused on what I was doing and kept doing that because that was working. That was giving me exposure. And it's the message of live in the moment, control what I can control now. I can't control if I'm going to get offers or things like that. But what I can control is like go out there and dominate and get my education at the same time, build myself up. And that's what I did. Exactly that. Went out there, dominated again. In my Division II, I did that for 4 years. So I only did it for probably, you could say 1 in high school, did it for 4. So that better give me some type of exposure, right? I took advantage as much as I could and built an education around it so I can actually do something other than football too if that doesn't work out. And yep, sure enough, knock comes on the door. I end up signing with that agent, and then also we went through the process of pro day, all that stuff, training. I dropped out my last semester of college because for me, I notice now that I live in the moment so like fully. I immerse myself in the opportunity that's in front of me. Whatever I have, I'm all in on it. And I become obsessed with it. And so when I finished my last year in college, and I had one more semester, I was like, okay, if I'm actually going in, I'm in. Like I'm done with college. I'll come back to that later. I'm putting everything into training to get myself on a team.
So I have a question though. If you didn't get that knock, was it because I know you said you didn't grow up watching sports, so it wasn't like I'm going to play football so I could be like this star running back, right?
Right.
So do you think that knock or that coach saying to you, hey, they're interested or you could be something? I remember someone from a small town making it. Would you still pursue it, or you think your path would be a little different?
No, I was hyper focused on, like I said, my opportunity in front of me. I knew for me it was going to be my education. Like I was going into the business world. I already had a plan. I was going to go make a bunch of money in the business world. I had an energy management job starting around $80K on your salary as far as my position I was going to go into. I was going to have a house to live into, and I was going to house hack it. It was going to be like a duplex or something with multiple rooms. I was going to rent out my rooms and start building up this building up my empire. That was where my mind was. Like I'm not even thinking about football yet. And then my coach introduces that into my life. He's like, hey, and so that was like, maybe that is an opportunity.
Yeah.
But I wasn't dependent on that. You see a lot of guys today where it's really like, football is everything. And it's like, so if football doesn't work out, then what? Like, now you're starting over. Why do that to yourself? That's torture, in my opinion. Like, it bothers me so much when guys are like, football is everything. That's okay to have it be that big of a part of your life, but you also need to have other value in somewhere else in your life, in my opinion. Yeah. You can definitely, I was absolutely hyper-focused on it when I had that opportunity, but then, boom, you can't sustain that for that long. I feel like you're eventually going to mature. You're eventually going to do other things too. So you want to have something, you want to have options.
Yeah.
And that's what I was making sure I had, was options.
Yeah. So do you look at the football right now? You involved in football also as like a business? Do you know what I mean? Because it seems like you came from an educational background where education was first and then the sport was second. A lot of people who play football or any sport don't. They grow up playing it. Their dream is to be it. It's a different path on average. So just by listening to you and seeing the way you are, it seems like you did take that approach of like, I'm going to do this football thing, but I'm going to treat it as a business as well.
I would say they're on the same level for me at the time in college. For my football and my education, those are my two things that I could control, that I was putting my efforts into, and I was all in on that. And on the side too, just working out. Like, I think I maybe undermined that a little bit. Like, working out has always been a part of my life. Like, that's where I think that work ethic that I learned, I think that was a place where I could have it and I could control it and I could really push myself in my way that I wanted to do this. So that also played a big part into my college career as well, as far as like me just building up strength. Because I'm 5'8", like 195. I play with guys that are all 200 plus, 300 plus.
Yeah.
So like I'm an average dude compared to all these other guys.
Yeah.
Did that ever mess with you at all, mentally?
Not
Or
ever.
was there a point to prove?
There's no point to prove. I really don't care. If I can get the job done, what does it matter what I look like?
Yeah.
I'm getting it done.
See,
For sure.
from my rugby upbringing, a winger was always the fastest guy in the team, right? That was my position. And then over the years, that wing position got developed into a taller guy because there was cross kicks from one side of the field to the next, and obviously you're jumping up to catch the ball. I had a good vertical jump, but I kind of, in the end, didn't fit the cliche position. I fit it with speed, but again, I had a point to prove when I was playing too, because they were always trying to bring a guy in who was taller, faster, not faster, but taller. And that was like the common thing for me all the time. I had to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Keep bringing it.
I don't necessarily have that mindset because I like to help my younger guys because I need someone to help and relieve me so I don't get my body pounded into the ground. But at the same time, like, you're not going to outwork me. You're going to have to earn that.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to earn that. Like, I can get this done. I've shown that I can get this done. I'm going to continue to get this done. As far as my position, I'm going to be efficient. I'm going to score touchdowns. I'm going to score all the fantasy football points, all that. Right? And like, it started for me. I wasn't even on offense. I was on special teams, which is like working my way into an actual position, so to speak. And now, like, we've drafted so many people, and it's like, I was undrafted. I didn't get drafted. I was basically picked off like the streets. Yeah, we'll take you. They're supposed to cut me. That's the vision. Like, oh, he's just going to come in and probably not do very well. And not absolutely, because it is that factor that they couldn't measure started playing a part into it, where it was like, I'm going to outwork all your guys.
So let's take it back to, because we mentioned undrafted, for the international people who are watching this. Can you describe what drafted and being undrafted is?
Yeah.
And obviously, you mentioned bringing it on the back end of your college and dropping out from that semester.
Yeah. So in the American Football League, at the highest level, there's basically a selection process from the unis, so to speak, where you can select the players that played for these different schools, and those are your priorities. Those are your priority players, people that you think are going to do well based off what you've seen. And so every team has 7 picks every single year. And then there's what's called undrafted. So those are the drafted people. The undrafted people are the people that are picked after those 7 preferential picks. And I was one of those people where it's like, sure, you might be good, but we don't want to spend money on you like we did for the drafted people. We'll just let you come in and basically do a tryout. And so that's the route that I was. And typically those people don't make the team. Like, that's why they don't make the team, because the scouts, there's people that scout us and do their jobs as feeling like, hey, these are the players that we should put money on. These are the players we shouldn't. And I was one of those people that they shouldn't. Not to say you won't make the team. It's just like, the odds are usually not stacked against you because the team doesn't have any investment in you. And so for my process, how the process works is, coming out of college, you go through what's called pro days, what's called combines, and it's basically measurables, how your speed is, your flexibility, your strength, your knowledge. It's just a bunch of tests so they can compare you to the others, right? And so for me, when I finished my last year in school and my last year playing, I still had another semester left, but I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to go into this opportunity, this is life-changing opportunity. I'm putting everything into this. Like, I'll come back to the education part. I'm putting everything into this. Like I said, I live in the moment. So I immersed myself into this opportunity, went and trained at a facility that was really well known, spent money to be there. This is everything. This is all you're getting from me. Because at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure there was nothing that I could have done more to take advantage. Like, it was going to be everything. It was either going to be, I can't make it because I'm not enough, or I'm going to make it because I did everything I could in my power and put it out there. And so I went through that process, and like I said, I was undrafted and picked up by the Los Angeles Chargers as an undrafted free agent, is what it's called. And then that's where my journey began with them.
Yeah.
That was at 2017?
2017.
And 27. So then you have to start that whole process again. You were playing on. We mentioned earlier special teams,
Right.
And you had to fight for your position to stay.
Right.
Right.
So just some context on that. There's what's called offense, who's trying to score. Defense is trying to stop them from scoring. And then special teams is when you transfer the possession over to the other team. So you kick the ball to them in some aspect and give them a chance to try to score now. And so usually those plays are far and few between, right? Usually it's mainly offense, mainly defense. And so the special teams is usually the backups. And so when I first got into the Chargers, I was doing the scout team, which is like the practice team, for the special teams.
Oh, dang.
So I was the backup for the backups.
Wow.
You know, and that's where I started though. And so I took that so seriously because that's all I had.
Yeah.
That's all I had. I had nothing else to prove. This is where I have to be. This is where I have to make it happen. And so I was unstoppable. You could not stop me. You couldn't block me. You could not get around me. Like that was my mindset going to it, and it showed on film. And I remember our coach coming in. I wore number 3. And the funny thing is about that, at my position, you can't wear number 3. It was just kind of something that is like, hey, here you go. Here's your jersey. Like if I actually played a real game, I can't even wear that number. Yeah. So it shows you like their value that they had in me. I remember I went flying down the field, made a guy miss, got around and went and tagged off on the returner, the guy that's carrying the ball. And our head coach comes in and is like, man, like talk to Coach Stu, our coordinator's like, who's number 3? They're like, who? And Coach Stu goes, yep. That's Ekeler. He's been giving us a hell of a look, and I was starting to get a little bit of equity built into these people.
Yeah.
And it was funny. My head coach at the end of camp, he admitted when I made the team that he didn't even know my name.
Oh my God.
He didn't even know my name.
That's great.
So it shows you how much input they had. But here's one thing that I did after our summer camp ended. I went up to our head coach, my coach, my running back coach, my position, and our special teams coach, and I was like, hey, what do I got to do to make this team? Like I'm so bought into this. Like, what do I need to do? What do I need to improve on? Like, and he's like, I've never had anyone do that before. You know, and like, I don't care what everyone else do. What do I got to do? And he told me to go do X, Y, Z, but it just showed him. And that's when he told me, like, I didn't know who this guy was, you know, and I was just with him for 6 weeks, you know, so I had to do a lot to stand out. And it started on special teams for me and built from there.
And what is the percentage of people staying after that duration in that first couple of weeks? After that 6 weeks, how many people get? So
during that 6 weeks, we have 90 people on a roster, and then we go into training camp, which is the spot right before the season, and that's, I guess, you know, probably another 6 weeks, and then after that, we cut down to 53. Yeah, so 90 to 53.
Wow.
Yeah, so we get rid of 37 guys, and then only I think 43 guys actually suit up. So we'll have guys that are on the team, but you actually don't play. You just are on the sideline.
And what year was it that you had or you feel like this is my break, this is my fucking year?
Every year's been that for me.
Got you.
Every year's been that for me, and that's how I've been able to climb.
Yeah.
I've been climbing, man. Like my first year, I was pretty much only special teams.
Yeah.
Right? I'm down there kicking, like running on kicks and stuff like that, and it's still my favorite stat to this day. But on punt, right, I led the entire NFL on tackles on punt as my rookie year. Like because that was my mindset. I was like, I gotta go get this. This is how I'm gonna put food on my plate. This is how I'm gonna start. Yeah. Right, and I'm just relentlessly. You can't touch. It was that same mindset. You can't touch me. You can't, like, it was the same thing from back when we were working, back building fences. You know, like there's no complaints, none of that. It's get the job done. And so, boom. One of my favorite clips is, I'm on the other side of the field. They punt it to the opposite side. I'm running. There's 2 guys trying to block me because I was playing what's called the gunner, and they usually have 2 guys. So I beat these 2 guys, fall down. These guys, the returner's running. I get back up, fall down again because they came and blocked me in the back. Get back up again, and then tackle the action. Then I made the tackle too. It's like one of those ones where just relentless, man.
Yeah.
You have that tape?
Yeah, we do have that tape.
Can I get it?
Yeah. We'll get that one over.
You said every year you feel like it's been your year, right?
And so, let me build on that because, that was what I did my first year, right? My second year, they're like, okay, Austin can play a little bit, and they started giving me more of an offensive role, right? So now I come in, now I'm playing special teams and on offense, and so I still was able to contribute on offense or on special teams, but then I started scoring touchdowns. Now they're like, oh, wait a minute, like this guy might be able to actually do something really like for our team. And
were you a running back?
I was a running back. Okay. Yeah, the running back. I was running back. I was like a backup running back the entire time.
Okay.
Second year, come in, start scoring touchdowns on top of it. They're like, okay, this guy can actually contribute in more than just special teams.
Yeah.
Third year, come in, I led the league in receiving for running backs, and I had like 11 touchdowns, right, which is pretty good. Usually, I mean, if you score 11 in any career, any position in the NFL is solid. I had like 1,500 rushing yard or 1,500 total all-purpose yards, and I was all offense my third year. And then that's when they paid me again. That was my contract, so they extended me for another 4 years.
Yeah.
2020, right?
Yep, 2020.
Do you mind saying what that was for the viewers, for the business guys?
So, yeah, it was 4 years, $26 million. So, yeah, big paychecks, right?
Yeah.
That second contract, that's the one you're trying to go for.
On signing bonuses and stuff?
I mean, yeah, 15 million of it guaranteed.
Yeah.
So that's what's the signing bonus part.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
And then 21.
and for what?
I
Well,
mean,
2020 happened. So let's go back to
2020,
you get that in 2020, and then
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah, and then the
Yeah.
world's shaking up, right? And then even that year, I went and blew out my hamstring. So I only played in 10 games. We played 16. I missed, so the first 4 games, killing it. And then in that 4th game, boom, hamstring goes out. And then that was kind of like a dud year for me. I ended up playing in 10 games, but still not, it still was good production, but not like at my level. And then the next year, which was the year that we just finished, coming back healthy, made it through, killed it, led the league in touchdowns, the top
20
touchdowns. No
Yeah.
one scored more touchdowns than me.
Incredible.
You know, me and
That's-
Jonathan Taylor led the entire league in touchdowns. I had 1,500 all-purpose yards, and just, it's like I said, every year has been something I've built on. You know, and so now this year, it might not necessarily, because I mean, shoot, if I beat that,
That's crazy.
insane.
I mean, 12 of those were rushing touchdowns, too.
12
right?
rushing, yeah, and then 8
I mean, that's
receiving.
a big deal.
So
Yeah.
I
People
balance.
yeah.
I have balance. Like,
Right.
you can put me anywhere on the field. I'm going to make something happen.
Yeah.
You know, they're just trying to give me the ball. You
Yeah.
know, how do we get Austin the ball in different ways so he doesn't get killed because they know it's coming?
And almost 1,000 rushing
Yeah.
yards, right?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, it was like 900 and whatever, something, 907 or something like that.
Which is a shit ton.
And then
Yeah.
700, or I guess 500 or 600 or 700 receiving yards,
Yeah.
right? Which, like I said, just give me the ball. Throw
Right.
it to me, hand it to me, whatever, I'm going to make it happen. And so now going into this year, right, my mindset has never changed. That's the thing. Like, even from back in college, it's like always been take advantage of the opportunity now. But now I'm starting to get more mature. Now I'm starting to see more opportunities outside of football that are bringing in. I'm seeing how all this ecosystem kind of works. Most guys don't make it past year 3. So the fact that I'm even still in this is something to build on. And now it's like, okay, what can I do to take advantage of it outside of football as well? And that's where all my outside stuff starts coming
So
in.
you've diversified a lot more, right?
I guess I started immediately when I got in because I still had that mindset. I always knew I was going to be in real estate, and so
Yeah.
I bought my first duplex. I have 100 units now, but I bought my first duplex after my first year, and started getting into the real estate world because I knew I wanted to have an empire. I wanted to have something that I could just continue to build in multiple directions. That's how my mind worked. Just continue to build.
Which it makes you rare
Yeah.
in a lot of ways in the
Absolutely.
NFL, right?
Absolutely. I think it's rare just because I want to do more than just play the sport. You know, football is a massive part of my life. It gives me mostly everything I have today, but that's not everything.
Sure.
Like, it's so much more. It's a whole lifestyle outside of football.
Well, you get back too, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you have your foundation.
So what everything comes down to me, like, it's a common theme. It's opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. And then what does my foundation do? Our mission is to implement opportunities into communities that are lacking. Right. And then I have my app that I'm building, which is creating opportunities for community and talented people, or people with followings to come together. So the theme in my life is opportunities, because I actually learned this when I started my foundation. Like, you can't force someone to do something, right? I can't. What I mean by that is, like, if I mentor someone, I'm like, hey, this is how it's done. This is how you got to do it. Like, this is what's going to make you successful. I can't have them go through that. They have to do that. They have to take that on their own.
You do.
Right.
So just like, for example, the gym. You can put a gym in front of somebody, and they can go in there and just do whatever, or maybe not even go. Right? But it's an opportunity for them. They can go and they can take advantage of it, and they can get ripped and shredded, or they could not.
Yeah.
So I can't control people. So what I wanted to focus on was giving people the opportunity to have a resource to take advantage of.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't help you. I don't know your mind. I don't know what you're going through. So that's where that really sat in with me, because in my early days of the foundation, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this mentor program. But it's like, I can't control people's mindset. I don't know how they're going to react to it.
I want to talk more about that foundation. So tell us when you started that, and how many people have you helped thus far?
Shoot. I mean, we helped thousands of people. We started only a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And how I can justify that is because we've done just that as far as implement resources that multiple people can use. For instance, our first ever project was a gym. It was a gym.
Barbara,
it was a gym in Santa Barbara, right? Yeah, there was a school. They have like 1,200 students, 12 different sports, and their weight room was crumbling apart. It's like, you have all these students and all these, and they're using this. Like, this is just, first of all, this is like a hazard. And so it was one of those things where we can implement something new, something that is actually up to standard, where people can go in there. I was like, you may see this just as a gym. This is the speech I gave, but this is much more than a gym, right? If people come and actually take advantage of this space, they're going to learn social skills. They're going to learn mental toughness. They're going to learn how to work as a team. They're going to learn how to have accountability in themselves. They're going to learn physical education. They're going to learn how to be fit and
commitment to the process.
And so, like, there's so much more value than just having a gym by just going and using this thing, you know? And so, like that, I mean, there alone is, you know, however many people in their sports programs that's been there for over a year now. So there's a few, you know, thousand. And then another one of my favorite projects was in Watts, California, where there's some elementary schools that were having like attendance issues, and they looked into it, and it was because people didn't have clean clothes. And because in this area, there's a lot of just lower income families living in assisted housing or living, you know, in their cars. You know, they don't have a washer and dryer. They can't clean their clothes. So what do? We went and put washers and dryers in those schools so they can do their laundry at school, right? So they feel good about coming to school. Like, hey, like there's more than just education here. It's actually helping my life. It's like those are opportunities. It might not be seen because that seems like it's something that everyone should have. But that's an opportunity, right, for them to go get that done so they can move on and not have to worry about that part of their life. And then we've done other projects as far as creating more like resources to existing projects that are going on and aiding those. That's just comes back to the mission, though. It's like we're creating opportunities for people.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Because I did see you did one, I think, where you could purchase like a teacher's list. With school supplies and stuff like that.
I love to do those where we'll have like a wish list sent to us from a school. And then we'll just complete their wish list for them. It's all usually different school supplies, books, you know, utensils, things like that for people that are in need of that type of stuff. We've done some football equipment, but I'm really starting to, we're going to have an avenue because I really loved our gym project, and we're going to get that going again where we're able to replicate and start building gyms across the nation.
Yeah, that's something that we've actually done with Arsenal Strength too. Excuse me. We've gone into, I would say, schools that have phenomenal athletes and absolute terrible weight rooms. Relic. I mean, dangerous. We've teamed up. We were doing something with bodybuilding.com where we went in and we kind of revamped their weight room in accordance with bodybuilding.com. And how many gyms do we do? We've done about double figures right now.
It was the Lift Life Foundation.
Lift Life. And then COVID happened. So unfortunately, nothing has been done since then.
Let's get it going again, man.
Dude. Listen,
you know, if y'all are looking for something, we're about to get it kicking again.
Well, we'll speak off the podcast because there's a couple of things that I'm working on myself that we could probably put our heads together on. And you've obviously asked me to partake in your foundation in any way or form, so we'll make sure that's going to be done this year. Is there anything, you mentioned also another project outside of football is your latest NFT project you're working on. Tell us about that.
I mean, that's part of the bigger ecosystem. That's part of the app, right?
Yes.
The app I was working on, Experience. And so we haven't launched yet, but it literally plays in line with what I've been doing. And it kind of comes back to why we met, which was through the gaming. Right? And just a long story short, when I got into the NFL, I just had all this conditional love from the Chargers fans, and I was like, "Oh, this is different, right?" Because I went to a small college. Like my high school had more fans than my college did. You know, and so like I'm getting all of this love, and I'm like, "This is amazing!" Like I want to give love back. Like I'm doing giveaways, I'm doing stuff like that, and so I started just doing live streams where I could talk to people and where I could just like interact with them. We could play games together. That's when the gaming started coming into play, and it was amazing. My community was skyrocketing. Like the first year I did it, I gained like 30,000 followers on Twitch. Like we were rocking. And I had all these opportunities come to me. Verizon's come to me. Bud Light's come to me. Hey, be in this event. Do this tournament for us. We'll give back to you. I'm like, whoa, I just did this just to hang out. You know, I'm like, there's a ton of stuff coming from this. And I was like, I should help other people do this, you know, because like I don't think this is really that well known. And so I started helping other streamers, like athletes, actors. We had a group of 10 of us, and I was helping us do events and putting all this stuff together so we could just maximize our efficiency to our community. And we were doing well. We did a couple big events, a few million viewers over all those events, and had some sponsors. And I was like, okay, this is something here. And that was like in 4 months we did this. So we did this in one season. I'm doing this while I'm playing football.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, I did a bunch of stuff off the field. But then I was like, it's very narrow, though. It's like I feel like we could get a broad spectrum, because if you're a streamer, it's a full-time, like even just doing a podcast is a lot of work, you know. But if you're a streamer full-time, like it's tough. And so I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. And so I backed up, and now I'm in a position where I have a platform that I'm creating right now. Like I said, in 3 months, we'll be able to talk about it more because we'll actually have it. But it's a way for not only you can do like gaming and things like that and different interaction, but we have 6 different offerings as far as engagements. And our engaged right now are getting stuff signed, social media engagement, gaming, items, like with the NFT stuff, and a couple more that I'll just leave for the mystery. But it's a platform where like you yourself, if you had stuff that you wanted to engage with the community, give some tips or whatever you wanted to do, however you want to engage with people, you can go in there and offer it. Because right now, if you go through my DMs, like, hey, can you send me this video? Hey, could you give me a shout out? Hey, can you text my brother? Like, all of this stuff, and it's like there's no way to organize it. There's no way to even
categorize it.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And even another thing is like in our lockers, there's piles of fan mail. Just piles of fan mail. I'm like, there's got to be a better way than just having this random people send us stuff. And so that's what I've been working on for the past 11 months. And the other NFT part was part of it. Yeah.
So when's your official launch with that?
So September is when we're looking right now. Yeah. So we'll
plug it.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's the website? And
so we don't. So we're too early for that. We don't have a landing page yet. Like I'm working.
Coming soon.
It's all coming soon. Yeah, it's called Experience, though.
So this is kind of like I would say, a heads up to our viewers, like kind of what would it be? Inside scoop.
There you go. There we go. Look at this guy.
Inside scoop on the dragon.
So imagine like, you know how Instagram's laid out? Like imagine Instagram where it has like your profile, but instead of like pictures below, it's all the customized engagements you would do. And so as a consumer, I would go to Flex's, profile and click on, oh, look, he's willing to, sign my hat. Right, and boom, I could sign, and then I would end up sending in my hat through our secure way that shows up on your door with a box inside of a box for you to sign and send it back.
No, I know who business mind is going, because
stuff like that, right? Or if you want to do more virtual,
it's a one-stop shop for engaging for someone, for a celebrity or a personality, because it doesn't have to be celebrity, whatever it is.
Yeah, it could be a chef.
To engage with their community.
Yeah, and then you get to pick and choose what you want to do.
Right.
So,
as you mentioned earlier,
that's very cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. We obviously met through a mutual friend, David Chen. Shout out to David Chen.
Shout out to David.
Great guy.
Shout out David.
Yeah, that's right. We all have a relationship with David in this room. Fantastic guy. And we went, all of us as a group went to, what was it called again? What's that?
HyperX?
HyperX.
Yeah. HyperX Theater.
And this professional gamer got his ass kicked by...
I'm terrible.
No. You were supposed to be a pro at Mario Kart. So I was kind of like the least experienced guy up there. I was trying to get into this new world. And as you said, it is a full-time job if you want to get into it.
Yeah, but you played Mario Kart all of COVID. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
I did. I was trying to get this one to get on too, but I had a couple of lads during COVID and playing on the Switch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the unfortunate thing, you can't trash talk because there's no mic'd up. Right? So
come on, Switch.
I'm sitting in an airport and I'm texting my boys. It's like, oh, let's get on now, right? Because I'm the one that's stuck, right? Get on right now.
Yeah.
So Guy Sestanino, Rafael Brando, it's a list of guys that we jump on. Pretty much what we've done is just put call, and it's in replace of the headsets.
Oh,
and
you
everything
do
else.
a call?
Yeah, then a call, and we were all on loudspeaker in the middle of an airport.
My God.
There was one time when we remember playing with delayed, and that time flew because I must have played about 40 games of Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So you got really good. So no wonder you were beating me.
Oh, exactly.
I haven't played in years.
His daughter's better than he is.
Oh, yeah, she's pretty
she
good.
is actually.
Okay.
She's not gonna lie.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
she
she
is
is pretty good.
She is.
Well, she still got that use, so they got the good reaction time.
Yeah.
You're way past
Small
your game
hands.
Bro,
age.
hey, this is my podcast, okay? Jeez.
17, it starts going downhill for the gaming age.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I found that world is very interesting. There's a lot of commitment to it. And
Yeah.
of course, my time, just like everybody's here, I've only got now with my newborn, it's very difficult to kind of carve out that time where I can put it into other things. Not to say that my gaming days are over, but I definitely know that Twitch has a big appeal for me. I mean, I played one game. I had 10,000 followers in one game on just streaming.
Right.
So I was like, holy crap. But again, it's a commitment. You have to be on every single day at a certain time or whatever else. And what I'm trying to get into is jumping on periodically once a week and commitment to that. And then I'll do more of a Q&A. So I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag. And this is something I'm working on right now. And it's going to be more for me because I don't do Instagram lives. I think they would be the replacement of. So taking my fans into another kind of social portal and interacting with that. And
So that's the exact reason I'm making experience.
yeah.
It's the exact reason. Because we don't have ample amounts of time, especially when you have a family and you have all these things going on.
Yeah.
It's like now you can pick and choose, hey, I'll do I'm going to do some video calls today.
Yeah.
And you can
Right.
set up video calls for yourself.
Well, you know the demand too. You know how maybe more people really do want you on Twitch, and you don't know about that yet. So unless you got the signups, right, or requests, you wouldn't know where you're wanted.
Yeah.
So it's smart. It's
And
really
then
cool.
you can decide where you want to be wanted. If you
Yeah,
want,
that's true.
for me, like fantasy football, it's a bit huge, massive. It's like if I only want to do fantasy football stuff, like I could just cater it just to that type of people, or if I want to do motivational speaking for you and like help you in that, like you can get a pick and choose and whatever the engagement you want to do. Yeah, video calls, personalized videos, things like that. Good stuff.
Now my brain is turning. Most of yours probably.
Yeah.
But you mentioned fantasy football also, and I was going to mention that, bring that into the back end of gaming.
He didn't say fancy.
Fantasy.
Oh, that's just
Fantasy.
That's the accent.
Fancy football is what he plays.
Okay.
So I don't know how many times we've been together, but every time I'll say this. If I was a betting man, this question, or this topic is brought up every time I've been around, and it always is, oh my God, Austin Ekeler, you're on my fantasy football team. I don't know how many people, and we were gaming that night, that guy who was the MC for that whole thing, he's like, oh my God, this guy, here's my fantasy football. It's nice. You're massively loved, mate.
Talk about opportunity, man. Like, I would say this is hands down the biggest missed opportunity that NFL guys don't take advantage of.
Really? Explain why.
Hands down. So here's the situation with what's called fantasy football. So people that have fantasy football teams pick and choose players from different teams to be on to represent their team, right? And then how that team works is however they play that week represents the amount of points they score, right? So if they do a lot of offensive production, they're gonna have a lot of points. And so here's where the opportunity is I have more fans in fantasy football than I do from the Chargers.
Dang.
Because they are millions upon millions of people that play fantasy football. There's not that many millions and millions of Chargers fans, if even.
Yeah.
And so what's the opportunity? Well, I'm on hundreds of thousands of fantasy football teams across the entire nation.
Yeah.
This is not just in California. And so what I've done is just give a little bit of love back to these people. What did I do? I jumped on a stream, and I was like, hey, this is how I'm feeling this week. What are we going? Like, anyone have any questions? Things like that. It was like an hour of time, right, a week, just talking about fantasy football, and it absolutely blew up. And I started to realize, wow, like this is something here. And my fans, I have probably 10-1 fans from fantasy. Like that's how. Than I do for the Chargers.
Wow.
If I'm ever out, it's never, you play for the Chargers. It's you're on my fantasy team.
I've been
right?
there.
So
they're invested in you. Austin.
Exactly.
They're not invested in
They don't care about the Chargers.
No,
exactly.
they're invested in you because you're the one who's making the
so
plays.
That is why it's a massive opportunity because they look at Austin Ekeler, the person.
Yeah.
They want me to do well. And so I get where the backlash is, because when I don't do well, then guess what? They care about this a lot. So they're coming for you. You know, they're like, Austin, why'd you score me 4 points? You suck. And they're going to tell me that, probably in a worse manner. You know, and people get sensitive about it. I don't understand. We got guys that get sensitive about people saying that they sucked. Well, if you did suck, then don't suck. And then how are you getting mad because some fan that you don't even know is talking shit to you, you know? Like,
and that's par for the course.
A living. Like, come on. Like, the bigger picture is there's way more positivity and way more just opportunity that can come from that than you getting mad because one person or even thousands of people said you played bad, who you probably did. Don't suck. You know, like, just straight up. You know? So that's why I think it's the biggest opportunity, because like I have fans across the entire nation now, because I love the fantasy football community. And this year, or the last year, I came away from the stream and actually gave jerseys away. So I would do a signed jersey. What you had to do, you had to just post that you had me on your Instagram, right? It's a perfect marketing play as well. Like, hey, post that you have me on your or on your fantasy team, a screenshot of it on your Instagram, and that's what entered, and tag me in it, and that's what entered you. So now I have all thousands of people that entered every week saying, hey, I got Austin Ekeler on my fantasy team, right? And now that's marketing me. So this year we're stepping it up. I'm trying to make this I'm trying to take advantage of this time in the NFL as I can. So this year we're giving away 2 jerseys, and we're going to fly someone out to our home game.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you win the giveaway, we're flying you out. You're coming to watch me score you fantasy points in person. Like,
cool. That's really cool.
So I'm curious about the big picture of you. I understand coming up how you were motivated and driven because of kind of negative experience maybe with your stepdad, right? That was instilled in you and led you to a certain point. Now, is there someone who is that person, or are you that person?
As far as that keeps me, keeps pushing me?
That holds you accountable, that drives you.
I don't have anyone. It's definitely
it's
me.
you.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's me. It's the philosophies that I live by as far as maximizing my value in this time, in this earth. Like, I understand. I'm 27. I'm almost out of my 20s, and I'm like, man, just thinking about that is like, I want to do so many different things, but I don't have a lot of time.
Sure.
You know, especially, you know, you said something. It was funny that I talked to my coach yesterday. You're like, I have kids. I was like, I've seen what kids do to them, man. Like, it changes some of your priorities now. Now you have to raise your family.
Right.
Like, I don't have that right now. So I'm in full go mode, right? I don't have a wife. I don't have kids, right?
Yeah.
And not saying it's a bad thing. It just changes you, right? Now you have actually someone to provide for.
Yeah.
I can't be as risky because now I need to make sure that I have something that always fulfill for my family.
Right.
So right now, while I don't have that, I'm just churning. I'm just build, right? And just keep going. And for me, it's really important I think it's really important to expand my value, because it gives me more options in more different places, right? So I'm in real estate, I'm in this, I'm in that, and I'm just trying to just go every single direction. And what the NFL gives me is access to people in a lot of different places.
Sure.
Just not even because I'm interesting or whatever, but just because I was on a team.
Right.
Oh, I play for the Chargers.
Now.
People are like, oh, that's cool. There's a cool factor that comes with that, right? They see you on TV, they can relate to you, they can tell their friends, oh, I know this person. Right. And so I use that to actually show them, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then like, oh, you actually do other things.
Right.
And that's where the real bond starts. And then I build on that. And then I call it planting seeds. So I'm planting seeds everywhere. And then they grow into trees. And those trees provide more seeds. And then just the empire just continues to run.
I think that's one of the reasons why you and I clicked, because we don't talk about football. I don't think we've ever talked about football.
No, we don't talk about football.
Minuscule, maybe. You know, I'll text you when you've killed it. Not when we play the Raiders. I just I stay away from that conversation. I also have Sean Merriman running around the gym too, which he loves stirring the pot.
Oh yeah.
But one thing, I'm going back to the fans. In my research that I was doing about you, I watched a couple of YouTubes, you know, a couple of videos. And then I read the comment section. Mate, fucking talk about loved. And you were saying about, obviously, your fantasy football draw.
Yeah.
You had, to your point, there was people commenting and just saying most incredible things. I think it was an episode that the Chargers had done on you. I think it was kind of like the beginning of the season, and they were following you around or whatever it was.
Okay.
You probably don't watch your own stuff, nor do I.
Nah, this is too much.
No. But this was done by the Chargers. And my point being is that there was so many people on there. There was nothing but positivity, where people have met you, how you were with their kids, where you done something. And I was reading this and I was thinking to myself, you know, that's so inspirational. You know, we have athletes who say they will never forget who they are until they get there. And unfortunately then it's so easy because, you have a fan that's been standing there for like 2 hours outside the stadium and it's got holding your sign, holding your jersey. Some people would just turn a blind eye and just, I've got to go home, I've got to eat or whatever. You're the type of guy to stop, get out, sign, take pictures. And I was reading all this stuff. And then to add also let's just talk about that.
Yeah,
let's just
absolutely,
talk about that.
because I'm very passionate about that. And I know because I came from a really tiny town. So I'm like, this love, like it's not necessarily like free, but it's not just like given. And that people see it as a given. Like, I'm this guy, so this is why I should have all the fans. Like, I don't need to hang out with people. But it's like, that frustrates me so much because I'm like, the only reason this platform exists is because of the fans.
Yes.
Who do you think's paying your bills? Who do you think's buying these tickets? Who do you think's buying your jerseys? Yeah. Who's buying all this stuff? Yeah. And you're not even giving them a time of day?
Yeah.
Like it's not because of you. Sure, you were talented at the thing that they were interested in, but if they were interested in something else, none of us would have a platform. How can you not sit around and take pictures? They're the reason we have all this stuff. Why does the salary cap keep going up? Because people keep buying into us, right? And so how could you not? And even if you want to be selfish about it, you making those connections is going to give you more options. You're going to have more fans. You're going to have more positive experiences. So there's so many more reasons to actually take care of the fans because that is the actual platform. Yeah. That's the community. And if there's so many guys that they don't necessarily understand it, or maybe they're too early, too young, but even older guys where it's like how do you not ever interact with these people? And like it just frustrates me.
Do you ever talk to your teammates about that? Like, if you see it
happen, yeah.
Do you ever check anybody?
I've never like seen it. I guess like it's really different because when we interact with fans, usually it's in a
controlled.
It's like really like set up.
Yeah.
Right.
Set up, and so it's like, hey, I'm gonna be there. Right. I'm gonna be there with XYZ, these people, and in those environments, that's the majority of the environments. Usually, you're gonna get pretty good feedback from the talent. They know they're there for the thing. They're putting on like a show almost.
Right.
And so I'm talking about the times where you're not in that environment.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Where I'm in the store, stuff like that. Like,
exactly.
I get it where it's like, if you're getting bothered and then there's a whole crowd, it's like, okay, you can't, come on guys, like we got to keep being efficient. But the fact that you won't even stop and like take a picture, go like this and let them take a picture, like things like that frustrates me because that's the real you.
Yeah.
Right. That's the real you. Like we have this facade. You see us on TV and you think we're all this, whatever you think we are. And then you see us in person and it kind of just like diminishes your image to them.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's where I'm like, there's no reason that you should ever do that unless you really don't care about them. And my experience, like if you're that type of person, I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You're not the type of person I want to be around.
Sure.
Or my teammate, like I really have no respect. You lose a lot of respect because they're as human as you are, right? And they're interested in what you're doing. You're providing them. They also are the reason that you have all this stuff. That's why I take it so seriously because the reason I have this entire platform is because of community. So,
this was the other part of my question. Because you're coming from a small town, I can relate. Small town too. Do you find yourself fighting hard to make sure that your personality or your image doesn't change? So when you do go back home, you're looked upon as this guy who's made it, and yet you haven't changed. The reason why I say that is when I go back home, I think the most common thing that I get, especially with my mum's friends, they're like, "Oh, you haven't changed at all." And I'm thinking to myself, you only sound more American. I was like, how the hell? First of all, how the hell do I sound more American?
You do sound more American than you did like 10 years ago.
Well, I think you just you got the flex you know. You understand me more. But I feel like I've fought hard for me to keep this accent. My culture is very strong. As you can see around the gym, it's full of dragons. That's my country's flag.
I got it tattooed on my side.
Yeah. Is it a Chinese dragon or a Welsh dragon?
It was just a tribal dragon. I don't know.
We're claiming Welsh. I don't need to see it. We're claiming Welsh. But yeah, that really is my question. Because again, and you were saying about fans and treating fans well. Since I got into the sport, I said to myself, wow, if I was ever, because of a bad experience, if I was ever that side of the booth, I would be doing this, and this. And then when I had my little break, and I got some 8x10s print made for me, I had to sign them, and I had like 3 people that stood in line, and then that 3 turned to 6, and then I built upon, and now we go around the world, and obviously Doug's with me sometimes too, and I got a 2-hour line. and I go into this mode of every person has the exact same amount of time given to them, from the person at the front to the person at the back. And I'll never walk away from a line. I'll always cut the line, so then people do know. But some people just walk away. And I think athletes believe that this is going to be there forever.
Yep.
And they never think about the sacrifice a fan has made to pay, put themselves up in a hotel, save their hard-earned money to stand in line for you, to meet you. And if that's the only and first experience they're going to have of you, think about that. That's changed for the rest of your life.
And I'll take it even further, because I think you're totally right. Especially with the NFL, like it's a cutoff. It's like a cliff.
Yeah.
It's like a cliff. Your relevancy for me right now is at an all-time high.
Yes.
I'm on thousands and thousands of fantasy football teams. I'm playing for the Chargers. I'm in the media. I'm talking on podcast, ESPN, NFL Network, all these major outlets of media.
Straight out the lair.
Straight out the lair. I'm in here, right? Like all of the stuff.
Now you made it.
All of the stuff that's been. Yeah, right, here we go. Now, I'm done now.
Yeah, you can retire, man.
Kick back, bro.
You're
Put your
welcome.
feet up. Put your feet up.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But no, like all of these things that keep me in the limelight, right? They keep you relevant. And then when you're done playing, boom, drop. I'm not on your fantasy football team anymore. I'm not scoring you points. I'm not playing for the Chargers. I'm not talking on NFL Network. I'm not doing any of this stuff. And so I've talked about this before, but with your fans, if you only have the connection of football, and I cut that, you think about there's hundreds of football players that retire every year. You don't know that. You don't know that. You have no connection to these people. You know, like they're just not there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, or you maybe not even, you don't even know most of them, right? So if you're only a football player, and I cut that, this is my community over here, this is me. But if I'm like, hey, I'm doing charity, I'm doing the app, I'm doing giveaways, I'm flying you out to games, I'm doing interactions with you, I'm doing signings, I'm doing all these things, and I cut football, now there's like some pullback. There's like, okay, yeah, Austin's done playing, but he's still doing all these cool things. He's also made an impact on my life. I got his jersey on the wall, he signed a card for me, I took a picture with him. Like those things stay, it lasts. It gives your relevancy in these people's lives, which if you want that or not, but it allows you to hold on to that.
Forever a fan.
Hold on to that.
Forever a fan.
Exactly. And it's yeah. And so that's become my lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's because there's so much value. There's so much value in that on a personal level and on a community-based level, especially if you're trying to do good in the community.
Yeah.
I think those guys, the ones with your mindset, when they finish playing, do tend to stay relevant. Like 10 years later, 12 years later, you still see them. And you recognize them, you know them, and you know they're very relatable.
And why is that? That's because they've made such an impact that now they have recognition beyond football.
Yeah.
Like now they're broadcasters. Now they're doing, charity events. Now they're like they have a community built outside of their football community, and that keeps them in a relevant state that people are attracted to as far as businesses, opportunities, things like that, right? So that's why they stay relevant. I think the best thing is, as far as relevancy when you're done playing, is becoming like actual broadcaster for that sport.
Yeah.
Right.
It might not be what you're interested in. You might not be the best speaker, but that I think is the ultimate way to stay connected in the actual NFL platform.
Funny, to your point about staying relevant, my company's doing a show right now, and one of the keynote speakers is T.O., right?
Yeah.
And it's completely unrelated to football.
He just played in our league, Fantasy Fan Control Football.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, he's an example, right? He still can be relevant.
Making a splash.
Yeah, he can still go speak, and people want to hear it.
Yeah.
But,
and so I think that's one of those rare occasions where if you're the 1% of the league, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll be relevant.
Yeah.
If you're an actual, he's a Hall of Fame superstar, done all of that, but 99% of us, that's not us.
Right.
With a build.
Yeah.
You better build it up yourself, because for those guys, those people that are elite level, your actual brand, your actual just performance will do that.
Yeah.
Right? That's like the rock stars that you see everywhere. That's like, I just known for this, and so that brings me opportunities alone.
Yeah.
But for most people, we're only playing 2-3 years, or maybe even not a starter. What are you going to do?
Sure.
You still have the same opportunity as far as the actual exposure, but you got to work harder for it, because you're not getting the interviews, stuff like that. You still have the platform,
right?
But it's a different situation, but still opportunity there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there was somebody watching this now that could relate to your story, whether it's obviously we're big. This is a big fitness industry podcast, bodybuilding and stuff like that. And we obviously have our fans that tune in that play other sports too. What would you tell a kid who was in a very similar situation to you growing up? Yeah. What advice would Austin Ekeler now give to that child or young man?
It's funny because like the things that I went through, I would tell myself to do the same thing. But when you're in it, I don't think you really understand the value that you're getting from, like, for me, I was super focused on like just working out, getting my education, because I knew I wanted to transit. I knew I wanted to transition out. And so what I was doing, though, when I look back on it when I'm older, is I was just focusing on the things that I could control, right? It was just, and not only that, but building on the things that I can control, which was increasing my value. So as far as making it sound simple, my advice to you, to anyone in general, would be to focus on your value and increasing your value. And you get to define what your value is. If that's, your networking, your social skills, your family matter, you being a dad, like that's the best and the worst part about it, right? Is you get to define what you see as value in your life, right? And so why do I say that could be bad? Because if you're lazy and actually don't do anything, then your value is never going to increase to yourself, right? But it could also be really good because now you know if like, oh, this is really important to me, and if you start increasing that, that's really good. So finding your values and like build on those because in the end, in the business world, I do this like kind of exercise with some of my guys. I'm like, if I took football and your money away, what would you be able to go do? That's going to tell me your value in the business world. Sure. Because now what connections do you have? Where are you going to start out? What the knowledge, what's the experience that you have that you can require that, hey, I need to be getting this much, or, I have these opportunities. And then in the family world, right, in your own personal life, it's a little bit deeper meaning because we all have different like spiritualities, what you think about life, what your purpose is. But in the end, I think if you have that feeling of you're fulfilling yourself and you're adding value to you and you're building, you're growing yourself, I think that's really what can be in common between all of them is I feel like I'm pursuing something, right? And you get to define what that value is. And so going back to it, my advice is to focus on your value and continue to expand that. And then it doesn't have to be something that you're really intentional about every single day. I think it comes to setting up your life. It comes to setting up your habits. Like for me, I wasn't thinking about, I need to expand my value. I was thinking about sports. I was thinking about my education, right? Though I was doing it, but it was just in a way of how I lived my life.
Yeah. I think this is kind of the last question I'll ask. As an athlete who I would say, defines the phrase earned, not given.
Absolutely.
How would you structure your day now as a professional, now making these changes? Like, what is a typical day for you? And how does the mindset play a part from the moment that you get up to the moment you go to bed? Like, is there a routine? Is it a ritual that you do before games and then also on an average weekday?
Yeah. This kind of goes back to kind of the question you were asking, like, who's your mentor type of thing. And I think it comes back to my core values. So, like, just a typical day, even right now in the off season, like I woke up this morning, I had a call with a potential CFO for our company and talking marketing. So usually the thing I would do in the morning is wake up and kind of set up the day. So I set up, okay, we have these calls. I have an assistant too that helps me with it because eventually you get doing so much. You need to be able to organize all of it and you need help. And so we'll have everything planned out. Usually I will start with a workout, which has been here over at Project Wellbeing.
Yeah. Shout out to Sean and the guys over there.
Sean. Yeah. And then after the workout, come home, and then it's usually start working on experience or the foundation. And if I don't have anything set as far as calls with my team or my engineers or the marketing, whoever is involved, it'll be expanding on, okay, what else can I do? What can I do to build right now? What else can be done? Because you can't do everything, but you can do things on the side that you're going to get to eventually. And then usually throughout my day, I'm usually listening to like podcasts. Okay. And so like mindset stuff, like thinking about like concepts of life, of value, of finances. Like I just keep it going.
Who's on your rotation right now? Yeah. Podcast wise.
What's his name? Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
You know him?
Yeah,
he's a good one. Gary V's in there. Who's the knucklehead one?
Flex Lewis.
Yeah, that's the knuckle. Yeah, him. was good.
If I'm part of it, he's part of it too, and so she. So it's okay. We all fall in one.
That's all right. I've always been that.
That's good. And so, but you just find a lot of value in hearing these people talk, and then I'll get like a bunch of suggested ones, just from listening to those people talk. And I think that keeps reiterating like my mindset to myself, like, hey, keep building, like stay, like, keep what's important to me. And then you got to put time for like actually like calling my mom and like my girlfriend, mainly my girlfriend. She retires my attention.
She's amazing, by the way. We love her at the gym too.
Yeah. She is great. She
TikTok superstar.
Yes, she's at VidCon right now. She was speaking on a panel actually.
Oh, wow.
So I was proud of her. She's doing the same. She's out there networking right now. But even in that aspect, because if I didn't have her, I would just be fully like one direction business wise. Then she kind of gives me like the family aspect. She slows me down a little bit.
And the dance moves.
Yeah,
I've seen them. We're putting those on there.
Yeah, we see their moves on TikTok.
They're great.
How hard is it for you to be convinced to do that? I'll answer the question. I was going to say, not very.
Look, I love this girl, and I'm like, hey, if you want me to do this, like, because it makes you happy like that, I'm in. Let's do it. And so I'm doing these ridiculous moves, and the guys are giving me shit.
But you don't take yourself too seriously, right?
No, absolutely. No. Like, this is for fun. Like,
exactly.
Like, you're going to give me shit because I'm hanging out with I don't care. Like,
it's
cool.
Exactly.
Like.
Just branding, too. It's getting you out there through her portal, which she has a massive following and gets you out there too. It's all relevant. But
it's how you set it up. I really try to set up my life where, I mean, not everything. Sometimes I'll get in a rabbit hole on TikTok and I'm like, oh shoot, it's been an hour. And I haven't done anything like that. Like, it's not like I'm doing everything like focused. Like, I definitely get distracted. I'll play the occasional, League of Legends game. Like, that's my game if I'm ever playing. And I think even earlier on, I think that actually helped me. I played a bunch of video games in college, but it helped me stay focused almost because I wasn't doing other stuff. It was literally, I'd go home and just play video games, just be me. But that's how it was back when I was younger too, so that makes sense why I did that, because it was just, I lived also out in a ranch like 20 miles away from anybody, so there was no friends coming over. It was me and my little brother who's 7 years younger than me, so you find me playing GameCube by myself most of the time.
Is the family still out there?
My mom my mom moved out of that house after she got the divorce, and then my little brother plays for Wyoming right now.
Okay.
So when my little brother's done playing, she'll probably move out here with me just to get back closer to us.
Cool.
Nice.
And then lastly, pre-game rituals, just for us.
I don't even know if I answered the last question. Mainly it's just focusing on the mindset, right? Focusing on moving forward, continue to push forward and all these different things.
Superstitions?
No superstitions, man. Like, show up. Just do your damn job. Like, I don't care how I tie my shoe or like what song I listen to. That's all BS to me.
You don't grow a mustache.
No, just freaking play, bro. You've been practicing this forever. What are you doing? Talking about, oh, I got to drink my water bottle this way. Like, what?
Is it guys on the team that does that?
No. I'm just saying, like,
you seem like you're talking from personal experience here, man.
It seems so ridiculous to me. I'm like, okay. I mean, but hey, if it mentally gets you in the right place, then I'm not here to say that it's wrong or right. Just for me, it seems ridiculous. So you do it. That's good for you. Me, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Well, Austin, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's already been an hour or what?
Yeah.
Hour 20.
Sheesh.
I know. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, so.
We can keep going. Let's dive into something.
It's very easy to talk to you. Again, we all on this podcast, as I said earlier, mindset is something that has got us all to where we are. And again, each and all of us have their own story. And you have such a unique story of really relentlessness.
That's what it's
about. Never giving up. Get knocked back down, get back up, dust yourself off, learn from the experience.
Oh, always.
And go for it again. And to see you now, being where you are as a new friend, I'm proud of you. To see you going into your sixth season, and coming from the incredible season you had last year, we're all very excited. We're all proud to have you at the gym, mate.
Appreciate that.
And again, nothing but the very, very best to you in the future, and all the endeavors that have been, as I said earlier, earned, not given.
Absolutely. It's the best way to get stuff done.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me on.
Episode 7, Straight Outta The Lair, out.